Hello and welcome. I'm Tom Palmer. Tonight I'm speaking with George Bertelstein. George is the founder and spiritual leader of the Medicine Path Native American Church. George, thanks for coming.
A pleasure to be here with you, Tom.
Nice to sit with you.
Thank you. You too.
How long have you had the church?
The church has existed as such for about 12 years now.
And what is your background? How did you come to start this church?
When I was 42 years old, I went to my first sweat lodge, and I had never been before. I'd heard about them, and I'd heard about, praying in a red road or Native American way, and had never really explored it at all. And then it happened that as part of another event, there was a sweat lodge offered, and I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." And the minute I crawled into the sweat lodge, I realized that I felt at home, really for the first time in my life, not just spiritually, but physically and emotionally and mentally. I felt very present, and the purpose of the sweat lodge was for purification, as it is, and I felt very, very purified. And when I crawled out of the sweat lodge, I asked the woman who was running the sweat lodge, "And when could I do this again?" And she said, "Well, why would you want to?" And I said, I don't know, but I do want to. And she said, "Well, call me and we'll talk about it." And so I did call her and did talk about it, and I went back as often as I could and eventually became her firekeeper, which is a pretty classic way to learn about these ways, is to do. And so I became her firekeeper and was her firekeeper for many years and helped her in a wide variety of ways, and that's how I learned. I learned by doing and being present and going to many hundreds, perhaps thousands of ceremonies. And that was how I began.
That's Barrett Eagle Bear.
Yeah, Barrett Eagle Bear.
Yes. And she still gives those sweat lodges.
She does. She does. She's been doing it for about 30 years.
In Sebastopol.
Mm-hmm, in Sebastopol.
Good. You also spent time in Peru.
I did. I made some journeys to Peru. My middle sister, Ellen Collier, developed breast cancer, and she had asked me if I would go to Peru with her to pray with her for her recovery. And when the time came for the trip, she couldn't go. She was very ill from radiation and chemo, but she asked me if I would go. And I said, okay. So I went to Peru and met a variety of people, including a future instructor of mine and a lot of amazing people, and had quite a transcendent experience in Peru. And I returned to Peru 5 times and received a lot of instruction, not just from the people who were offering ceremonies, but from Peru itself, from the medicine in Peru and from the sacred places in Peru, which are full of knowledge that's available to anyone who wants to go in a good way. And also, before that, I had begun to participate in grandfather medicine ceremonies, which I participated in for many years, and that was the precipitator for the founding of Medicine Path, was because the people who were offering the grandfather medicine came to the Bay Area where I was living, and I had been a Chinoopa carrier, a pipe carrier, and that medicine told me that I needed to start offering a weekly pipe ceremony for people so that they would have a place to go to learn how to behave in a way that might work for them. Because the medicine teaches you, opens your heart, and teaches you different ways of looking at the world, but there's no sustained practice. So the purpose of the pipe ceremonies was to give people a place to go, basically a refuge from the re-immersion into our cultural ways of relating to one another and relating to our communities and relating to our families. And so that was the origin of Medicine Path, was this pipe ceremony. Prior to that, I had another pipe ceremony in San Francisco for about 4 years, and had left and moved to Florida because of family things that were going on with my illnesses in my family. So I have a long history of running ceremonies, which is relatively easy for me because I began late and I wasn't particularly intimidated by holding gatherings or being part of community, and it seemed very natural to do the things that I was doing. So I'm backtracking here, but fundamentally that's the origin of Medicine Path. Went through the Chinupa pipe ceremonies, the grandfather medicine, the Peruvian Andean medicines, to the present day where we have a weekly Tuesday night Chinupa ceremony that's been going on for over 12 years, and we offer medicine ceremonies on a regular basis also.
Those are healing ceremonies.
They're all healing ceremonies, yeah. The dedication that the medicine has given us is for healing ceremonies. So rather than, all of our ceremonies are healing ceremonies. So somebody says, well, what are the ceremonies for? What are we going to do? It's like we're going to heal. And what is healing? It's like healing is the reduction of the feelings of fear that we have, which keep us from feeling free in our lives. I'm not talking about freedom as, libertinism. I'm talking about the freedom to accept responsibility for the choices that you make in your life, the freedom to be a responsible family member, the freedom to be a responsible community member, and also the freedom to let go of whatever it is that you might have created in your life that constrains you from being who you are. We're all amazingly unique people. We're not here to follow anybody. We're not a cult or part of a cult. We're here to help people to embody who they really are. That's what the medicine is interested in. It doesn't want a bunch of little soldiers. What it wants is a bunch of liberated human beings that can make wonderful, loving decisions about how they're going to relate to one another and to their families and to their communities, the local community and the macro community, to the globe. So when people are talking about, we need to help heal the mother, it's like the best way to heal the mother is to heal yourself. The best way to heal the earth is to heal all of your local relationships, beginning with yourself. So we encourage people who come to healing ceremonies to make a good prayer for themselves, and the medicine basically will take care of the rest with some guidance and some assistance, which we are able to offer.
Some of it is about separateness and overcoming the duality of separateness.
Yeah, it's there's an illusion of separation, which is created by the necessity of differentiating ourselves from each other. We are all different. There's no doubt about that, and the medicine acknowledges that. But in our separation, it creates a lot of sense of fear of other, and for instance, in marriage or, in relationship with our children, we're always quick to retreat to the position that this person is other than we are. They're different than we are, but they're not other than we are. So what the medicine does is it helps in a way that's very mysterious to show us what are the commonalities between us. And basically, there is no duality. For instance, a duality would be this thing is a good thing, or this thing is a bad thing, or this thing is a yes and this thing is a no, or this is a female thing, or this is a male thing. But what the medicine teaches us is that these properties exist within all of us. Some certain parts are more emphasized than others, and what healing is letting go of the need to be resistant to being more melded with the opposite, what we consider to be the opposite. We just say there really is no opposite. So in relationship, for instance, it's what the medicine teaches is to soften and to open and to allow and to be very clear about who you are without opposition or adversariness to your partner. It's just not necessary. It's like when we soften and open and allow, we open our hearts, we're more loving, we're more responsible, and the other person changes. It's like people say, oh, how can I get my husband or my wife to change? Just you change. You change. How can you change? You have to find a way to allow yourself to soften and open and to allow change for yourself without saying, I have to work. For instance, people often will say, oh, it's really hard work to do this. It's the opposite. What's hard work is to let go of the idea of hard work. If we say a thing is difficult, then we've already set up an opposition within ourselves. We say, I can't do this. You may not know how you're going to be able to do it, but that's not the point. The point is it can be done, because if you can make an intention to do it, it can be done, and the medicine will help you with that. The medicine doesn't make a sap out of you. What it does is it makes you available for your healing, whatever that might be.
So it's as simple as that. You don't need to think too much.
No,
too much thinking doesn't even help.
No, thinking doesn't help. And thinking has its place. This isn't a way that is about not thinking. What it's about is finding the balance between our mental, our spiritual, and our physical component. And there is a balance. And for each person, it's different. For some people, they're very intelligent, their mind is very important, but if their mind is disconnected from their physical body or their emotional body or their spiritual body, then it's unhelpful. It becomes dominant. The same way that someone says, oh, I'm a very physical person. That's great, and where's your mind and where's your heart? In our spiritual relationship, it's just that part of us that allows us to soften and to open. It's not, crashing thunderbolts, although for somebody it may be crashing thunderbolts. That may be what's required, to soften and open and allow. But
that's not magic.
No, it's not magic. It's what's present in all of us. And what we say is that in this way, each person has their own personal relationship with what we call their creator, or in AA they call a power greater than yourself, or a higher power, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. It isn't even a concept, it's just what it is for you. And in this way, what happens is the medicine opens the channel for us to have that communication without psychedelic experience, without ferociousness, in the gentlest possible way. Because we're very lonely. A lot of the narrative that we have about separation is really describing how lonely it feels. We say, oh, I'm all alone in the world. It's like, actually, you're not. The good news and the bad news is no, you're not. There's always something with you, and not only is it with you, but it loves you. It's not judgmental of you. It thinks you're the most interesting person in the world because it's your creator, it's your higher power. So, my higher power has no conflict whatsoever with your higher power because it's all part of the same thing. But we say the power that's greater than ourselves is so great that it is possible, and it actually does exist in all things at the same time, simultaneously. So this is how we say, people say, oh, well, animists say that the rocks, the water, the trees, the people, the animals all have God in them. Well, of course they do. It's like they must. And so when we remove the barriers that we have to encounter the God in other human beings or in ourselves, then it's God talking to God, and it's not my ego identity and your ego identity talking to each other. And in that way, we can soften and open because it feels good. I'm not talking about inappropriate behaviors. I'm just talking about how good it feels to just allow another person to enjoy them, because that's really what's missing in a lot of our relationships. We're so fearful that something will be taken from us if we allow ourselves to love and be present with another human being. And all it's more. It's just more given to us. As my wife says, getting is giving, giving is getting. It's all the same thing. So our culture is particularly steeped in the idea of like, oh, I'm a very giving person, but I don't want anything for myself. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's only the idea that we're not receiving when we give that keeps us suffering. So the medicine and these practices and these ways of praying, because it's really what it is making intentions about our relationships with ourselves and each other, help us to fully experience our nature, which is a flow of giving, a flow of getting. That's a lot of fun. The other thing is not fun at all. If you say, I'm a very selfish person, that's not really true. If you're allowing someone to be kind, to be loving with you, you're giving them the opportunity to be kind and loving with you. If you're being mean to them or unkind with them, it's going to make you feel badly because you're not going to fully experience what a joy it is to allow another human being to be kind and loving. Is there so much love in the world that we get to say, I like this kind, but I don't like that kind? There isn't that much love in the world.
My experience is that you make it easy to just know whether you're opening up or not. At any given moment, you're either opening or you're closing. You're either opening yourself up to more experience or you're closing yourself down.
Yeah, that's just absolutely the truth. And the truth is anyone can do it themselves. Once you get it, what I learned years and years ago from the grandfather medicine was we have a built-in gyroscope that tells us exactly how we're doing. We don't need another person to tell us how we're doing. It's nice when you're a little kid, for instance, to have your dad or your mom say, wow, good job. I have a 2-year-old, and so I do it all the time. I go, wow, that's great that you did this. Oh, you're doing such a good job. But as an adult, it's like we have a feeling that we're doing a good job or we're not doing a good job. So sometimes we come to conclusions, thinking conclusions, well, since I'm not feeling good about the way in which I'm relating to my partner, okay, that it must stay that way. And we have to kind of back ourselves into a pain corner. And the truth is, you can come out of it any time. The other person might be angry with you because of the way that you behaved in the past, but they'll get over it because they want to feel good too. You know, it's not a matter of ignoring past behavior, it's a matter of taking responsibility, which is saying, wow, I'm really sorry for the way that I've been behaving. I just got scared and shut down. It's like scared is what we get. Human beings are fear-driven animals. And you know, we don't really have the equipment to deal with our fear. We don't have big claws or fangs and a particularly leaping ability, et cetera, et cetera. We have a lot of systems for defending what are the imagined assaults that other people are doing to us. And a lot of the perceived assaults we have, someone's trying to love us. You know, they might be doing it in a weird way or an uncomfortable way, but they're probably just trying to give us some form of affection or attention. And so, you know, when we filter that out, we say, oh, you know, I don't want you to like me because the way you like me is uncomfortable. The truth is that we probably can soften and open and allow, as long as it's appropriate, you know, to say, I'm really willing to experience how you relate to me. Because if I need everybody to relate to me the same way, I'm in a lot of trouble, since we agree that everyone is completely different and unique.
So take responsibility for yourself, not for other people. And if it's not your deal, it's not your deal.
Yeah, I mean, you'll know if it's your business or not.
That's
but
right.
Seeking for other things to be your problem, you know, we all have our own problems. You know, there's a history in our culture of expert knowledge of, you know, of esoterica, where we say, oh, this person holds the keys to the kingdom. Actually, the medicine holds the keys to the kingdom. It is the keys to the kingdom. It says, I will help you. So someone else can act as your guide, but really they don't know any more than what you're capable of knowing in any given moment. That's why in this way we have elders. It's not, they may be wiser than other people, but their problems are exactly the same as any other person's. You know, they have the problem of birth, they have the problem of life, they have the problem of getting old, they have the problem of illness, they have the problem of loss. And all they're saying is, you know, yeah, and here is the answer. The answer is to soften and to open and to allow and see it as human. Like, this is all human stuff that we have to deal with.
George, how does the medicine have this power to know us, to understand us, to give us what we need?
How does the medicine have this power?
Well, you say the medicine knows, or the medicine will do this, the medicine will...
Well, what we believe is that the medicines, and there are a variety of medicines, including, you know, in my case, there's the pipe medicine, Chanupa medicine, the tobacco medicine, there's water, there's fire, there's the Inipi sweat lodge ceremony, you know, there are plant medicines, there are a lot of things. We believe that our Creator supplied these things. They're called sacraments, so that our Creator could offer us the healing that we needed. And the variety of medicines that are available to us is virtually infinite. You know, it's not like this is the only medicine. It's like there's a lot of medicine in the world. You know, somebody says, you know, what's your position as a medicine person on, say, you know, Tibetan Buddhism? Good. There's a lot of medicine in Tibetan Buddhism. Is it better than your medicine? I don't know. It depends on what you need. You know, it depends on what you need. It might be better for you. You know, for me, I have been fortunate to find the medicines that I found. You know, people say, you know, acupuncture, which is Taoist medicine. It's like Taoism is a path. It's a universal truth about spirituality. It's like if we understand what the root of it is and we're willing to soften and to open and allow this great medicine to help us, unequivocally it will help us. It's always the same thing, which is if it's a true path, it will help you, and it contains sacraments, it contains ceremonies. You know, if you're lying on an acupuncture table, for instance, you're in a ceremony, and that the person who's putting the needles in you or giving you treatment and whatever you are, they're offering you this medicine. They may or may not know even why they're doing a specific thing, but they're doing it because they're making a connection between you and the power that's greater than yourself, which in this case is the Taoist medicine. It's the principles that Lao Tzu emphasized. So we don't have a quibble with any way, nor do we say this is special. It's special because this is what works for George.
It's your way.
Yeah, it's my way. You know, and it's like never to the exclusion of anything anyone else might want to share. Every true way is a true way because it's true. It's not a true way because somebody convinces anybody of it. It's not like that. It's like it provides the freedom from fear, which is what healing is. It's the freedom from fear. And it always is the same in this sense, that it's a practice. You know, when people talk about spiritual practice, we're not practicing to attain anything. What we're practicing is we're doing a thing repeatedly to continually release our fear, because it's the nature of a human being to find new things to be scared of. Life is scary. It's a really scary business. As you know, you hit certain ages and you go, I didn't know I was going to have to deal with this. Well, you're going to have to deal with it. You know, people say, well, what is it? What am I supposed to do? I don't know. I don't know. The practical dealing with it, maybe going to a doctor, or maybe seeing a healer of some kind, or maybe moving to Arizona for dry air. I don't know what it's going to be, but the emotional and spiritual impact of it, as well as the physical and medical impact of it, are just as important. So how am I going to deal with it when I can no longer walk? How am I going to deal with it when I can no longer breathe easily? How can I deal with it when I can no longer pick up my baby? These things are present in everybody's lives, and we want to be able to be happy in spite of our suffering. It's like we're all suffering. It's like that's a human being thing. So the medicine and these healing ways help us to be free of our fears of what is going to happen next, because something is going to happen next always. And it teaches us what the true nature of that thing might be. If we can view death as a liberation, which is common to all spiritual ways, true spiritual ways, it isn't like, oh, I'm excited to be dead. It's just that it's a liberation, and I can begin to soften and open and accept that that's the inevitable end of my human existence. I also can enjoy my human existence a little bit more, understanding it's finite. The Dalai Lama said the thing that amazed him most was that in spite of the fact that it was a sure thing, most people were in denial that they themselves would ever die. I mean, that's hilarious, but it's also so accurate. And
it's the ego, it seems.
Yeah.
The ego doesn't want to die.
Yeah, so we love the ego. We acknowledge the ego, and we say, you know what, ego, you're going to die, and here's what I'm going to do for you on the way. And that is what our spiritual practice is. Yeah, I am going to soften and open and allow. You are a component of me that I came here with my body, and I thank you very much for making me feel unique and protected and safe sometimes. But you're only able to do what you've been able to do. In my brain, thank you so much for convincing me that I'm right about so many things. But it's like you're not helping me holistically. So I need to find better refuges. And the refuge really for us is the prayer and the medicine.
People come to your ceremonies and they think about what they want to leave at the altar. What are you going to leave here? Mm-hmm. They're not kidding around. And if they are, you will point it out to them. If they don't have a serious intent, you will point it out to them that you have an opportunity here to make a real prayer for yourself. And more often than not, they will rise to the occasion and they will make a real prayer.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone not. It isn't, I don't know that the way we do ceremony is any more persuasive than the way anybody else does ceremony, but I think that people are drawn to the ceremony that they're prepared for. So I think that what happens, I don't know what the mechanism of it is and wouldn't even pretend to know, but the truth is the people who arrive are the people who are ready to pray at this altar in the way that we pray, because they really don't want to carry that around anymore. They're done. And as we all do, we say, oh, well, I'm not sure if I want to let go of this. It's like all it is a reminder that, yeah, you came here to let go of that. Would you be willing to consider letting it go? And without knowing how, because inevitably someone will say, well, how will that happen? I don't know. I know that it will happen. If you say, I am willing to, even to be willing to consider it, that it's a possibility, will open the channel to allow that to occur, because that's a prayer I might be willing to consider, that I could be free of this great fear that I have, that fill in the blank, then you will inevitably, you're headed that way already.
So many times before the ceremony, some thoughts will come up, well, I don't want to go. Or one time you asked how many people really didn't want to come or had to drag themselves, and half the people raised their hands.
Yeah. I think that that's just the best thing, really, because the courage is to go. The courage is always to go. And for me, I feel the same way. It's like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have an agenda. I have some forms that I follow, but the forms change because the medicine itself is living. It's a living ceremony. If we did it the same way all the time, then we would not be expressing that that's true. So when somebody comes back, there were some people at ceremony last weekend who haven't been maybe in a year or so, and they, were saying, wow, things have really changed. And yes, because we all change, because our lives change, because our circumstances change, because our feeling states change, because that's part of our prayer, to allow for change in ourselves and others. The idea that, we need to be consistent. It's like we need to be consistently loving and consistently open and consistently accepting, but we don't want our children to stay the same all the time. We want them to grow up. As sad as we are when they leave us, we're also very grateful. It's like, goodbye, do well, and that's the way it should be. And that's the way the medicine treats us, as living entities, people whose lives have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
You lead ceremonies not just at your own facility, you've gone to other facilities and led ceremonies. So are you available to the public if someone has a particular function and they want you to come and perform a ceremony there?
Well, I'm available in the sense that, if they want to come and talk to me about that, I'm totally happy to do that. And I am open and available to anything that my prayer tells me is a good thing for me to do, because I'm not going to do anything that I can't do in a good way. One of the underlying principles of medicine, the medicine life, is we just say, everything I do, I want to do in a good way. So people say, what's in a good way mean? It means if I can do it with a good heart and a good mind, then I will do it. If I can't, I won't do it. So it's not prejudice about what the circumstance is. Somebody asked me, if I would go to Maui and do a ceremony, and I met the woman, and I will go to Maui and do a ceremony. Or somebody asked me if I would go to Colorado. It's not about Colorado, and it's not about Maui. It isn't even really about the person. It's just about this feeling. We all have an orchestra that we like to listen to that's in our soul. And I'm listening for this feeling that I have. And when I feel that, then I go, yeah, of course I would do that. And, it doesn't mean I would do it again necessarily, depending on what it is. But sure, it's like I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to listen to myself. And I pray that everyone will do that about every circumstance in their life. Because if you look at what I'm saying, I'm talking about the root cause of good behavior in our lives is saying, I will do a thing if I can do it in a good way.
Makes life simple.
Yeah, very simple. Something even I can understand.
You're also available on a limited basis for individual counseling.
Yes, I am available for individual counseling, which I've done for 25 years. And I enjoy very much individuals and also couples, which I enjoy a lot. I'm very interested in relationships between men and women and women and men. It fascinates me because there's really the root of family and community, is what happens when the female principle and the male principle, no matter what kind of body it's embodied in, try to get along, try to do this business of reducing opposition and adversariness. It's fascinating. It's always fascinating, because at the local level, that actually is the creative principle of the universe happening right there. It's happening right there. And I've found that I can be very helpful without a lot of work or even a lot of words, although I do love to talk. Because people do understand that. They understand it in a way that they can explain it to themselves. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. If you do it, you can't be right. It's like you have to be willing to soften and open and to allow. Do you love? It's like, yeah, if you love, are you willing to offer this person a continual opening? Because you can't get to a plateau. Even though we all do it, we say, okay, this is enough, I've had it, this is as much as I'm going to do. And the truth is, at that point, the next incident occurs in which we have to soften and to open and allow. And that's the mechanism for our growth, just as we see that in our children. They say, I'm done, I'm 7, and I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how to handle everything. And of course, 8 occurs, and they go into confusion and upset, and then they're 9, and they know everything. And then, as we all know, we don't ever know anything. So why we would think that because we're adults, we should know how to comport ourselves with one another is absurd. And yet, of course, we do, because in our culture, we believe we must know everything if we hit a certain point. we now know the next nothing.
Well, I'm very privileged to come to your ceremonies, and I see people come flying in from other states or driving down from Oregon, and I'm very happy that you're close by, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
All right.
Pleasure, Tom.
And thank you for joining us. Good night.